subscribe.
Hi everybody and welcome back. My name's Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. Today I'm going to talk to you about rosin because I'm getting a lot of questions on what type of rosin. There's so many aspects to rosin and it's like a rosin minefield out there. The same it is with strings as well. I'm going to hopefully talk to you a little bit about rosin. I'm not going to go too deep into the world of rosin simply because I think if you're a beginner and you just want to know, or the reason why you're watching this video is because you just want to know a little bit about rosin because you're choosing rosin and you don't know which one's this, which one's that. There's light rosin, there's dark rosin, hard rosin, soft rosin, lots of different names, expensive rosin, cheap. There's so many different types of rosin. So I just want to give you a general overview. So this isn't the be all and end all information. I just want to say that this is just I've just bullet pointed a few points about rosin just to help get you going and things like that. So if I'm looking over there, I have made some notes. You know, I like to make notes to make sure that I give you all the information needed. So the first thing to do, if you were buying a new violin, normally they come with the outfit. So in other words, you'll get the violin, you'll get the bow, you'll get the case, you'll get some rosin with it. You should get some rosin with it anyway. When you open up the case, it'll be the left of the case. There should be like a little square compartment where you can lift up the lid. The rosin should be sitting in there. The first thing I would do is get a bin and put that rosin in the bin. Obviously I would perhaps just wait till you've got a replacement rosin first, but throw away the rosin that you get with your violin. If you've got a really cheap violin, or the cheaper the violin, the more you must throw that rosin away. You don't have to throw it away, you can keep it, but I'm just saying if you want to, my opinion would be to throw it away, just to get something a little bit better, even if you got something really cheap from the local music shop or from Amazon or anything like that. I will link and list as much as I can some rosins underneath the bar underneath. So if you want to know where to get them from, click in the description bar underneath and you'll have all the links to the rosins, probably from Amazon or Music Room or wherever it is that I can find the links for these rosins. So throw away your cheap rosin. It's going to be no good for you, trust me. So there are two kinds of rosin. There's light rosin and dark rosin. Now, just to nutshell the entire whole light dark situation there, light is generally a bit harder and it seems to be better for summer. Just because it's harder to soften it. So in England, I don't really think that makes an awful lot of difference because we don't really have really hot weather, we don't have really cold weather. Our instruments aren't generally all that affected by the heat, I would say, on a whole. Some of you might disagree with me, but I'd say on a whole, compared to some of you that perhaps live in Florida, and I know a lot of you had a problem with humidity there, for example, when it's really hot, or if you were living near the equator line or somewhere that, you know, Mexico, Dominican, somewhere like that that's really hot all the time, then you're going to have a lot of problems. So you might find that light rosin is a bit better for that. Darker rosin is completely the opposite, so it's a little bit softer, so it's great for the winter there. So I generally use light rosin. I've got two rosins here, I'll show you in a second, but both of them are light rosin. I always have used light rosin. I find, actually this, to be fair, this one's light and I think this one is dark. I find for my violin and my bow, light rosin isn't enough. I prefer a little bit more grip. My bow was quite an expensive bow. I've got a very expensive set of strings. The strings that are actually sitting on my violin at the moment, my G string, I actually paid £40 for, which has got to be about $70 maybe more, something like that in America. That's how much I've just paid for one string, just because it was the string that I wanted to have. So I generally find that light rosin just doesn't give me enough grit. It doesn't do enough. I've got to put so much on for me to get the same effect out of dark rosin. So that's just my personal preference. So it's completely up to you. So the cheap stuff is really nasty and really ropey. With violins, you'll get what you pay for. So the most you can spend on rosin, the better it's going to be. And when I say expensive rosin, I mean, you know, $12 isn't gonna break the bank particularly too much, considering that you will probably have rosin for the rest of your life, unless you're a professional violinist and you're going around and you're rosining your bow, you know, left, right and center and everything. The rosin will last you a very long time. So in terms of how much it's going to cost you, 0.00001 cents per go of rosin, so it's negligible. It's going to cost nothing. So if you've got $10, $11, $12 or something like that to spend on some rosin, do it, because it will make a difference. If you did ever then upgrade to another violin and to a better bow and better strings, then you've still got the same rosin. So spending sort of £1 or $1 on rosin, then again, I think it's bin worthy in my opinion. So you want to spend, I don't know, if you can spend about £8, $10, $11, $12 or something like that on rosin, you know you're going to get some nice decent rosin there. It's going to do the job. You don't have to ask why, it just is. So Hill rosin, that's a good make of rosin. So that's Hill rosin is quite a nice standard. It's quite nice across the board. Rosin can get very complicated in terms of, perhaps a violinist like myself would look more into what kind of rosin would suit my strings and my bow and everything, just because I am a professional player and it does mean more to me. But again, I mean, I couldn't tell you that this was going to be great for your violin or this was going to be great, because it completely depends on what combination of strings you've got, what kind of violin you've got, and what kind of bow you've got. So I assess all those things and then I decide what kind of rosin I want to have on my strings to get the best out of it. And even then I don't really know what it's going to be. I just have to buy them and try them and see if it makes any difference. It's a very subtle difference as well, so I doubt you're going to even notice too much if you're a beginner about, oh yes, that's that rosin, and oh yes, that's, you know, you probably won't notice too much. But if you do get a decent rosin, you can be guaranteed that there's going to be no scratch due to the or raspiness because of the rosin. So even if you don't know where, why, who or how, you can be guaranteed that the rosin isn't going to be too rubbish, if you like. Melos rosin is really good. Again, links are going to be in the bottom here, as is Gold Flex, which is this one. This is by Parastro. It's supposed to go with the Parastro strings. This is okay. I was a bit disappointed. I bought it because I had a set of Eva Perazzi Parastros, but again, I felt it was just a little bit too light. So I've gone back to my Ren rosin that I have. This isn't actually that expensive. This is just a few pounds. I think a friend gave this to me, but this dark rosin, so when you get it inside, it's actually green, or got that kind of greeny. So this is dark rosin, and without throwing everything everywhere, so that's your dark rosin. And the Parastro Gold Flex, which comes like this in its box, has little bits of, or has little flecks of gold in. You can see I haven't really used it that much. I've had this rosin for years and I'm only just starting to make a little kind of dent in there. So these are the two rosins that you've got there. It's sort of, there is very fine flecks of gold in there, but maybe a little bit overrated for this, for me, my opinion. Some of you, I'd love to hear if any of you are, you know, getting on really well with this, and tell me what combination of strings you're using it as well, because it's, again, it's just all trial and error. Liebenzilla is a really good brand as well. I'm trying to get hold of some Baker's rosin. If any of you are rosin fans out there, Baker's rosin do some really nice rosin, which comes from I don't know, from what I can remember, it comes from whatever's in it. It comes from the sap of the tree, but it's supposed to be, they can only get it, is it a sycamore tree or something, whatever it is, they can only get it certain times of the year. You have to go onto a waiting list, and I think it's about $25 for the rosin, but I just really want to have a go at it, so I'm on their waiting list, so I can hopefully get some rosin when it comes to the start of the new season. I might get sent out some rosin, just so I can have a go at that, because it's supposed to be very, very good rosin if you can get hold of it. So if you have the cheap stuff, it will sound quite raspy, it won't grip, and you'll get quite a nasty sound out of it. And if you've already got quite a cheap violin anyway, or a student quality violin, then the last thing you need is more raspiness and more kind of nastiness coming out of the violin. If you've over rosined the bow, then Unfortunately, there's not really much you can do to unrosin the bow except just play it. Just wait until the rosin comes off all over the strings and all on the violin. Wipe that away as soon as you finish practicing. Wipe it with a clean cloth. Get rid of it under the fingerboard. Get rid of it on the body of the violin, in between the bridge and the fingerboard. Otherwise, it tends to go clear and it'll go sticky, and then you've got all of that sticking on the body of the violin and sort of muting and muffling and clogging up the sound over time. And then just play it off. That's all you're going to have to do. So you won't need to put on any rosin for quite a while. You might find it sounding a little bit raspy, but that's just because you've over rosined. So don't worry about it, folks. Don't do anything to your bow or anything, try and clean it or anything like that. Just simply play it off and jobs are good. So in terms of makes of rosin, I can't recommend any makes of rosin. I've named a few: Hill rosin, Goldflex, Liebenzilla, Melos. They're all good standards of rosin if you want, for an all-rounder. But I can't recommend any because it really does depend on what you've got on your violin. So try not to, well, don't leave a comment asking me what I think of this violin or what I think of this rosin or that rosin, because they'll all be great rosins, but it'll just be dependent on what you've got. But just the general rule of thumb is that you just want to spend as most as you can. So maybe £10 or $10, something like that. The more you can spend, the better it's going to be. And it's up to you whether you want light or dark. I always go for dark just because I find it gives me a little bit more grit. I can just get stuck in there a little bit more than light. But if you've got quite a heavy violin, you might not want dark rosin. So it's just completely up to you, but you'll get what you pay for, would be the bottom line. So I think I've talked enough about rosin. Thanks very much for watching. Hope that's helped a little bit about rosin, and I'll see you all next time.
Subscribe.